up, guys? Welcome back to WCS America. axeltoss and axslav here, bringing you coverage of the Challenger League, where we have a bunch of players trying to get into the Premier League. We're currently watching round 2 of the bracket stage, where the winners will advance to play the losers of the round of 16 in the Premier League, and the winner of that match will head on into Premier League. Hopefully that doesn't sound too complicated, because it's really not that complicated. The point is, you got to win. If you win a lot, you're going to be in Premier League. We're currently in a match between Vibe and Jim. I just asked the players if they're ready. Of course, Jim taking a very convincing game 1.
So game 2 is going to be on Daybreak, and this is a game Vibe with his Swarm host play I think is in a great position on Daybreak. It's a very one-directional map. There's very limited passageways to attack. And we saw last game, once Vibe got to the Swarm hosts, he actually didn't really lose them until the game was already over. He was very good at always only burrowing them, setting out the Locust, and always immediately unburrowing the Swarm hosts and pulling them back so the Protoss couldn't go after the Swarm hosts after getting rid of the Locust. They got rid of the Locust, and then that was it. The Swarm hosts are already gone. If Vibe can do that same style of play here on Daybreak without being so far behind from the start, I think he has a very, very good shot of taking this map.
That's such a great point. You know, all things considered, Vibe was so far behind in that game. At the 5-minute mark, he was like, his opponent was literally double his supply. Jim played very patiently, which, you know, gave Vibe some room to breathe, got those Swarm hosts out, and once you get the Swarm hosts out, you have that comeback ability. Vibe, again, microing pretty much perfectly with those guys. So we'll have to see what happens in this game, you know, provided he doesn't go for some sort of all-in strategy in the beginning, but who knows, anything can happen. Again, Vibe told us that, you know, he might go for these cheesy type strategies because he has that much respect for his opponent, realizing that, okay, maybe something like that is necessary to take this best of 3. But guys, here we are. Welcome to game number 2. It's going to be on Daybreak. I have the pleasure of introducing our 2 players, beginning in the top right-hand location, with the Protoss player hailing from China, representing Team Invictus Gaming. He's 1 win away from advancing on to the next round of the Challenger League bracket stage to play Scarlet. He is Jim. And I don't mean where you work out. His opponent in the bottom left-hand location, your Red Zerg player, representing the United States of America. In fact, he's the defending WCS USA champion. Down 1-0, he must win 2 in a row here to advance to the next round of the Challenger League bracket stage. He is Vibe.
Jim is doing an interesting scouting technique. So typically when Protoss do this Forge expansion build, which is very common on Daybreak, they often scout after putting on the pylon. This allows them to get the probe across the map in time to block their opponent from building a hatchery very early on, as well as scout something like a 6-pool. Jim decided to scout after Forge. And this time it will still allow him to see a 6-pool or early spawning pool coming in time to react to it, but he won't be able to block the hatchery, but he can do this, the cannon rush. Is Vibe going to be able to scout and defend this?
There's clickety-clacking in that area, and there's the drone, there's more drones. He knows exactly what's going on, but the 3 pylons gonna wall Jim in, which means he can place down a cannon, and I think Vibe might be going to plan B here. Spawning pool, gas, the hatchery might be canceled. In fact, I think it should be.
Of course.
You want to wait until the cannon finishes first.
Vibe wants to force his opponent to commit. Actually, you know, if Vibe saw drones there, he could just cancel that cannon right now. This is always a really tricky thing. If Vibe kept 3 drones in the area, he'd be losing more mining time, but Jim could not have canceled either of those 2 pylons, which would have slowed down his follow of Nexus quite a bit. We can see now Jim has 400 minerals, he can throw down a Nexus momentarily, whereas if he wasn't able to cancel those 2 pylons, he would basically be delaying his own Nexus by significantly longer.
Yeah, very well played there from Jim. Of course, it's interesting if Vibe had an Overlord there too. Maybe that changes things a little bit, but again, it comes down to the drones being or not being there. We're going to see him mining gas, and Jim sending a probe in that location. Going to see what's going on. Jim with a very fast Nexus, and already not the best start here for Vibe.
Not at all, of course. With this gas he's mining that Jim scouted, Jim may have to shore up his defenses quite a bit because there could be roaches or speedings following up this 3rd hatchery. In fact, he sees the 3rd hatchery coming down from Vibe.
In the middle. It's pretty crazy.
That's a really bold move, and I actually feel this might have been good for Vibe that Jim scouted, because with the amount of gas that Vibe has, actually he's delayed mining gas after he got speed, so it doesn't look like he's going to do some crazy all-in. Would have been
just
pretty.
A faster layer, I guess.
It looks to be that way, a faster layer play.
Yeah, I mean he kept 1 drone in gas, so it's not like he's really prioritizing the gas income at this point. Speed has started.
You know, with how late that Cybernetics core is, if he just threw down a baiting nest, he might have a shot doing some crazy mass speeding baiting bust where he blows up the Psycore as soon as possible, and that'll, of course, prevent additional warpins of sentries or stalkers. But that'd be a very, very risky move, and, you know, Vibe, Daybreak's a great map for Zerg in the late game. Doesn't want to necessarily risk game 2 with a very early rush.
Now, you know, having this hatchery in the middle, there's obviously going to be pros and cons here. One of the pros being you can get the creep started pretty fast, you know, starting across the map. And once you can get creep there, maybe some spine crawlers, you can really lock down that position, which is nice. But it also means that that expansion is much closer to your opponent's side of the map. So we could have a situation where Jim identifies that the hatchery is there in the middle, and he tries to construct some sort of build to abuse that, whether it be, you know, a fast immortal play, a fast gateway timing. But knowing Jim, he's been playing very safe throughout this entire series, or at least in the first game, I should say. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he just lets it go up, plays it safe, realizing that he does have a lead here, and then, you know, just proceeds to stand at 3-base play, maybe just going for a little timing on 2 bases, and just going for the late game.
Jim is up quite a bit in the economy right now, which is, again, from the last game, not where Zerg wants to be. Zerg always wants to be ahead in economy. Vibe being down by about 10 workers is a pretty big blow. He's going to get a couple of roaches out. Of course, he wants to deal with these cannons in his natural as soon as possible, clear up that pylon, which could potentially warp in more Protoss forces, and also be to just take this expansion as a base. From here, Vibe has a lot of options.
Good supply. Sorry to interrupt. 46 out of 78. So I think a lot of roaches coming, maybe? I guess not.
I don't think he would really have much of a shot trying to mass roach attack. I mean, there'd be enough sentries and immortals out on the defensive end. I kind of would like to see Vibe just play insanely high econ and then maybe try to rely on counterattacks to stay in the game, because he's behind enough that trying to go head-to-head with Jim is going to be a very tough proposition.
More and more drones on the way here from Vibe. Roach has taken down one cannon, going to take down this other cannon, backing up that weakened Roach. Valuing every single unit, especially when you're this far behind, is very important. Mothership Core going into the main here. Nice little scout here from Jim, spotting that layer, the timing of that guy. Obviously sees the Roach farm, but already knows Roaches are on the field, but also sees the progress of that gas. So, you know, he's going to have an idea of what's going on, that Vibe is going very fast into tech, you know, as far as how this game began. And let's see how he reacts to that.
One thing to notice is he's already stopped making probes at a low 2-base saturation point, spending all his minerals on additional gateways while he produces immortals and sentries as his initial force. We're going... Oh, trying to pick off the queen. Doesn't quite get it. And that 75 energy loss on a time warp is pretty significant given the fact that Jim is going for a 2-base time attack with a lot of gateway units and immortals.
This is going to be so scary. Again, his economy has been fantastic throughout this entire game. Vibe just now catching up in production. A Hydra Den is on the way, but I'm not sure if he's scouted these 3 immortals. The closest to Overlord, okay, an Overseer going in there right now. He's going to spot all the gateways. Now he knows what's going on, but 20 Lings on the way, still some drones done. He needs Hydras out, and even if you get those Hydras out, this is a pretty formidable force here from Jim. What does Vibe have to do here to defend against this? Is it possible?
So I think Vibe needs to rely on a counterattack to buy time to get enough Hydras out in the field. If he can... Oh, these roaches are so important.
Not bad. Well, you're slowing them down a little bit with those force fields, but...
And every force field used here is less force fields available later. If Vibe can use this roach speeding force to just threaten counterattack. So if he tries to engage Jim, Jim's army is too strong and he'll lose. But if he can force... Oh! Yeah, he can't engage it. There's just too much Protoss there. He needs to circle down and to the right and threaten another counterattack, because every minute that goes by gives Vibe more chances to build up his forces, get Hydra range, and more Hydras out in the field.
Looks like he's run out of time here. He's going to be backing up to his 3rd base. Looks like he wants to make a stand. Jim coming forward again. He's 1 game away, 1 win away from advancing to the next round of the Challenger League bracket stage, extending forward here with 3 Immortals, plenty of sentries on the ground, and a War Prism here to maximize that unit production. Starting to take down the rocks. He might try to march into the natural expansion, which would be a very interesting decision. The Spine Crawler is going to reposition themselves. Let's see what Jim does here. He's going to try to engage Vi going forward with all these slings and the Hydras. A Time Warp going down, trying to keep those Zerg units away. The Spine Crawlers are not yet in the ground. And look how powerful this composition is. Sure, the Mothership Core goes down, but there's still a pylon here, still a War Prism. Jim can just extend forward so many units, and I don't see what Vibe can do to stop it.
Way too many Protoss units from Jim there. Vibe needed about another 2 minutes of time to buy, and without the threat of the counterattack, Jim just marched straight across the map and is now in that Protoss death machine mode.
Well, he evacuated all of his drones. Oh, these Hydra's going to get picked out again. Every unit's so important if Vibe wants to win this game. Trying to get enough Hydras on the field, but as you said, there's so many units here from Jim that as long as the force fields are fine, maybe the force fields don't even need to be fine. Just based on how strong this is, drone's going to be pulled here from Vibe, desperately trying to stay alive in this Challenger League bracket stage, but it looks like Jim might have too much. So many units here, so many force fields, and Guardian Shield going down as well. There's the GG, well played, and Jim takes the 2-0 over Vibe, and he'll be advancing on to play Scarlet in the next round of the Challenger League bracket stage, and Vibe is going to fall down to the group stages.
And man, Scarlett's seen how dominant Jim looked against Vibe. She's got to be a little bit afraid of that match. Of course, that'll be coming up on either Wednesday or Thursday. A very exciting match. Jim, 2-0 over Vibe, of course. This is a very, very strong timing attack. Zerg either needs to be basically have a great early macro game, which Vibe didn't have because that Cannon Rush set his expansion back so far.
Yes.
Or Zerg needs to really rely on counterattacks and a base trading type of game plan to deal with this attack. Vibe unfortunately didn't have the economy to be just straight up or the threat of a base trade to try that type of game plan. Jim took it down convincingly.
Yep.
It's beautiful play overall by Jim.
Yeah, you know, played that pretty much perfectly, showing why he's been literally #1 in the Korean Grandmaster ladder. Jim came to play, trying to get a spot into the Premier League again. He's going to be going up against Scarlet. And honestly, if I'm Scarlet, I don't think I can really gather much from those games, because those games were actually so wonky. You know, the first game starting out with the 9 pull and the speedlings all storing up. You know, imagine if that game had started with Vibe going for a more macro-oriented opening, you know, the say 14 pool, you know, 17 hatch, something like that. You know, how different that series could potentially be. And of course, game 2 with the Cannon Rush. That pretty much throws everything off. Having to take your hatchery in the middle there, Zerg players never really want to do that. That's farther away from your main. It's hard to reinforce. There's so much open space there too. The Protoss can get a great concave. And of course, your Protoss opponent is pretty much at your front door as they push across the map. So a great play there from Jim playing against Vibe. Very well, taking the 2-0. Coming next, guys, we're going to have Gosu User versus Kapach, our next best of 3 of the Challenger League bracket stage. Stay tuned.